an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 155 and 156. In these episodes, the White Berets are here to make our friends' lives miserable. Finally, I get the answer to what happens if you enter illegally without paying the fee. And the answer, as usual, is endless harassment until you pay up. They would like to reach you about your student loans and your extended warranty. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you to Gabriela for commissioning this episode. I just wanted to mention Florian put a spreadsheet in, or he gave me the spreadsheet, I think, and I put it in the Discord and pinned it at the top of the channel for One Piece No Spoilers. It listed Florian as the sponsor of today's episode. And I just wanted to double check because it says Gabriela for me on my calendar. But sometimes y'all book on one another's behalf, and the credit is supposed to go to somebody else. So I just wanted to check and see if that was correct. And if it is not, I would like to credit Florian as is his due. But anyway, I really, really enjoyed these two episodes. I really am digging the whole Sky Island thing. I don't think I really thought about how dramatically changing up like the material of the world that we are in would be sort of like it would give the show a really fresh feeling, but everything feels different even if it isn't that different. You know, you could really have a lot of this storyline occur in the regular like Blue Sea area without changing too much so far, and it would work okay. So I don't know why this feels so different, but I think it's a combo of not just the fact that, we've got clouds and we're using them for different materials for things, but also this like race of people are very different. And I don't really feel like I've, gotten the handle on what's going on there yet. And then, of course, there's the introduction to the concept of God being real, which is its own whole thing. So I am really enjoying what we're doing here. So, reminder that at the end of the last episode, we have Nami stopping at the base of this island. And the island is really interesting even from the water. She is at the base of a cliff, essentially. She hasn't found a beach where she can land. It doesn't even really feel like there's a spot that she can dock and like climb up unless she were to climb the roots of the tree. But it is just a really different look than what we have seen before. And it feels really forbidding. And I'm sort of grateful on her behalf that there isn't an easy way to get onto the island now that we know what a penalty it would incur. Because I think that she probably would have landed and tried to look around a little bit if it were a simpler proposition. But the fact that the place is sort of forbidding looking and difficult keeps her on her little speeder, her air jet ski, that's the one. It keeps her on that long enough that she begins to notice the sound of voices. And I thought for sure that this was going to be actual people, although they did sound kind of weird. And it turns out that it's one of those dials that records sound. And of course, she hasn't seen all of the different things that the dials can do. So this for her is still kind of a mystery. She's like, how is this playing all of this back? What's going on? She thinks initially that maybe she can talk back and forth, that there's some she says something like it's like there's somebody trapped inside, and quickly realizes that it's sort of like repeating things. She presses the top and it starts over again. And the voices are talking about the treasure that they're after. And that they, at first it's somebody being like, we have to keep looking. And then there's a guy going like, we need to get the fuck out of here is what we need to do. And he says something about God. And she is like, word? So she's getting some of the information, enough that Nami, who is a lot smarter than everybody else on the crew, goes, you know what? I think I'm good. Although, you know what I'm realizing now? I said that she didn't set foot on the island, but she had to because she went and picked up that fucking shell. So yeah, she did. Doy. But it's just not like... She is realizing how dangerous it is so quickly that it doesn't feel... Or no, wait, does she? No, she doesn't. A bird drops it. Right? Isn't that what happens? Because she, like, I was like, she had to have, because she has the thing. But she doesn't. A bird, like, drops the dial onto her weird little ship thing. So, yeah, this whole situation here feels extremely forbidding. And we have a like guy in the woods that's being chased. She comes across the wreck. That's how it goes. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I get all mixed up on how this happens. Because I was like, I know that she like climbed off of her speeder boat onto something. But yeah, she's got the sound of the like guys talking, and then a bird lands on it, and it looks like the bird dropped it, but the bird just like landed on it seems like. And the boat that she finds is ruined, and there's like claw marks down the side of it, which is very not something that you want to see. That's all I'm going to say about that. The guy that's being chased on the island itself, y'all, I really fucking feel for this. I don't know what is going on. The people that are chasing him are these weird beings that do sort of like... It's understandable if somebody were to be like, oh yeah, they're definitely gods. Because they have these giant animals at their disposal and they look really weird. I know that we have seen non-godlike people who also have animals at their disposal. Like, what is Buggy's, like, right-hand man's name? The one who's got the, like, kind of lion-tiger creature. But, so it's not like it's out of the question for a human being to have these abilities. But it's definitely a little bit more intense than we have seen before. And this poor guy getting chased is like torn up. He looks like shit. He is obviously really tired. He's alone. There's a real sense of like he had friends with him at one point and they are not there anymore, probably because they are dead. And then we've got a weird sort of introduction between all these dudes. We've got a extremely muscly bald man wearing like Ray-Ban sunglasses, kind of tattoos all over one arm, and he's got wings, and it looks like he's with the giant white dog, if I'm not mistaken. That might be with somebody else though. Oh no, yeah, after I feed you and your ugly friend to my pet dog. Okay, so it is his dog. Then we've got a guy who is like bouncing from foot to foot. He's got long red hair. It might be a woman, actually. I can't tell. But there's a very strong... I'm getting from this, like, bouncy one, a very strong, like... What's his name? The mime from Pokemon? You know the one I'm talking about? Who's, like, just so obnoxious? There's just a real sense of that with this guy. And then, of course, there is the dude with the aviator helmet that's got wings on either side, like where the sort of ears would be, which actually looks really dope. I think this is a cool design. And the aviator's got extremely thin, pointy mustaches the size of like chopsticks sticking off his face, and a bomber jacket with like a fur collar. It is honestly a hell of a look. I really like it. And he is on the back of a purple bird that has like an orange ruff around its neck. And this bird is like really loud and quite obnoxious. It is there is something about the animal sounds in this show, because it's a person that does the animal sounds every time, that is so much funnier because of that every time any of them makes a sound, I'm just like, this just takes the weirdness to like another level. So yeah, this bouncy dude, he's got long red hair, and it sort of looks like he's wearing a like pith helmet or like a rain hat. He's got a white bodysuit, but his body is like spherical. He is very, very fat. And he also they all have wings, by the way. But he doesn't seem to have an animal. The two of them do, but he does not. And they are surrounding this poor dude who looks terrified, like he's about to pee his pants, and arguing about whose prey he is, who gets to chase him. And Nami is distracted, understandably, by this fucking display. So she does not notice the guy with the bazooka who had tried to attack their ship earlier, sneaking up behind her with his mask and his weird, like, ski feet. And he fires at them. I thought he was firing at her, which I'm sure is what, like, we are meant to think for a second. But no, he fires at those guys on the island. And she has this moment of just like, wait, did he kill the guy? Like, what is going on? The dude is bloody, but he's okay. He comes to the edge of the cliff and he says, "Give me a ride, please." And Nami just says, "This is a one-person boat." And she keeps arguing with him about it. Look, it probably wouldn't work, but I really wanted her to at least give it a try. There is just, like, you could drape him over the thing at the back. Like, just try something. It just felt so heartless for her to just be like, "Oh, sorry, can't." The man is bleeding and surrounded by fucking monsters, basically. Have a heart, Nami. Try something. Tie him to the back of it. Get him, like, drag him through the wall. Whatever you gotta do. Find a way. But the guy says, "Well, then I'm going to take it." And he pulls out a knife and he's like, "I'll cut your throat." And I'm like, my guy, I get it. You're desperate. I completely understand. And I don't blame you. I really don't. However, if you're going to try and cut somebody's throat, you don't pull the knife when you are still 200 yards away with no way to actually get to them other than hurling yourself off the cliff. You are giving away your evil intentions and thus giving them ample time to escape without, in fact, having their throats cut. What you want to do is lure them by saying, "Well, then can at least give me a drink of water?" Something. Pretend that you're so desperate for any kind of help that you will be willing to take just a canteen of water if they're so heartless that they won't take you with them. And then when they lean over to give you the canteen, you grab their arm, yank them toward you, cut their throat, take their boat, and then you take off. That is how a pro would do it. But this guy is not a pro and has lost his head, is not thinking super clearly, obviously. So, yeah, this dude, when he says, "Either give me the boat or I'll slice you up," the guy with the bazooka, whose eyes are like red and shining, he says gorilla, and I wasn't really understanding what this meant. When he says it, he points his bazooka, and I'm thinking he's about to take a shot. A white beam of light comes down from the sky around this dude who just threatened Nami, and the ground begins to lift up around him. There is strong abducted by aliens vibes here for a moment. And it's so much more intense than abducted by aliens. I really was like, okay, this guy's going to get like lifted into the air because he's going to like some other esoteric punishment. I don't know what I thought. But no, this like beam widens to be probably like 20 feet across and blasts a hole in the cliff, in like the earth itself. And the trees are like yanked out of the ground. This is like, I don't even know. And everybody, like, there's a moment where somebody says, I think it's the guy with the mask, says something like, "How dare you harm Vearth?" I couldn't tell what was happening here. It's just like a half a face. We see the eye and like the mask, so I think it's the same guy. But I'm not positive because it's like in black and white and it's done in such a way that's so sudden that I kind of thought maybe this was the intro of a new person that we're not supposed to know yet. And all of this is happening. There's a clouds of dust. Trees are like broken and burned. Everything, again, is in black and white for a second here. And this dude is standing watching all of this. It looks like it's over. And then all of a sudden, it's like water pours down from the sky like this giant waterfall. I don't know if that is supposed to be a result of the beam displacing the water, but it's like the beam sweeps out from that area, almost like it's trying to chase our guy with the mask. And it does not succeed. We see him like getting away, and he doesn't have anything to do with Nami. He's not messing with her or talking to her about any of it. But she is just sitting there covered in water, extremely flipped out, looks up at the cliff where this guy had been, and there is nothing but fire. This dude has been burnt to a crisp, I guess. You know what, guys? I have no idea what to think of this. It comes out of the sky. And I know that it's mentioned at one point that there's like an additional higher level sky area that blue sea people can't survive in because the air is too thin. So maybe it's somebody from up there targeting people down here. I don't know if that is possible. It's just sort of an interesting question because it doesn't seem like the people from Skypiea can target anybody from the Blue Sea. You know, we have the whole thing with the, and by target, I mean, like, obviously they can be punished because we know about the thing with the ships that are basically, like, put into exile until everybody starves to death. But what I mean is they can't just, like, look down from their clouds down onto the Blue Sea and point a gun and shoot at somebody from above in the way that I'm suggesting might be happening from the level above them. But I could also see it being like, well, yeah, the Blue Sea is the Blue Sea, and these are sky people, and the sky people sort of govern themselves, and it's a whole separate thing. And that would make sense. You know, we've had the suggestion that God lives on that island, which is called the, like, outer yard. And I don't know why it's so funny, but for some reason the idea of the place God lives being called the outer yard feels so disrespectful. There's something very prison about it. You know what I mean? Like, you've got the inner yard, and that's where everybody does their, like, weightlifting and they play basketball. But then there's the outer yard where you can just, like, run laps or, I don't know, whatever. Upper yard, says Florian. Thank you. But nevertheless, it just feels like prison to me. It's giving penitentiary. Florian says, for the longest time, I thought that the sphere guy was a woman. Okay, so it is a guy. I thought it was a guy, but then I was like, this show can do weird things. And for some reason, the show is like, okay, either every woman is extremely heavy and kind of a joke, or super hot. And there's like very, very little in between. The only in-betweens we ever really get are like old ladies, and that's what we get. So this whole thing, and the way that it all goes down right in front of Nami's face, and she doesn't know like anything about any of this, I really felt for her. This must be so intimidating and confusing. And she's just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get out of here, you know, especially after like listening to the messages that she heard where these guys are like, oh my God, we really made a mistake with this one, you know? But we do know that Nami is like very into treasure. So I'm sort of worried that she's going to be like interested in coming back at some point if she gets the idea in her head that there's something really here. So that is what's going on with Nami in this episode. What's going on with the rest of the crew who is hanging out with that family? They are eating dinner, and they had just like started talking about where Nami could be at the end of the last episode. So that conversation continues here, and what happens is really pretty fun, and it makes a lot of sense. What happens is that Luffy hears that they're not allowed to go to that island, and of course immediately is like, oh, okay, so we're definitely going to the island that we're not allowed to go to. But what he is trying to do, which is fooling nobody, is pretend that he really just wants to go out there because he's worried about Nami. And I love the fact that like Usopp is calling him on it repeatedly, and it's just being like, you are just doing this to satisfy your perverse desire to do what you're told not to do, is the way he says it. Which I have never felt so called out in my life, Usopp. How dare you? Y'all, it's a real fucking problem. I don't know if this is like something to do with a personality disorder, or if it's just me being like such a rule follower so much of the time that I need an outlet somewhere in my life. But you tell me that in a personal sense, and I'm not talking about like, if you're like, here are the rules at work, I will obey those rules. I will. And I'll really side-eye the fuck out of anybody who doesn't, because I'm like, you guys know the way that we're supposed to be. So in that respect, I will be like a fucking poster child for whatever kind of vibe you are trying to set in this workplace, to the point where it's going to be like a little sickening probably for the people around me. But on a personal level, if you try and say, Natasha, you really should go to bed by 10 p.m. You really have to do that. I will stay up until 2 o'clock, even though I am dying of exhaustion, just to give you the finger. I will cut off my nose to spite my face all day fucking long. It's so predictable. And this is part of why I have such a difficult time enforcing rules upon myself, because I will even react that way when I tell myself to do things, which I cannot emphasize enough how fucking annoying that is. I will be like, all right, you know what? Today I'm just going to drink water. I'm not going to have any booze. I'm not going to have any soda. I'm just going to drink water. And then this like other part of me will just come out of the shadows and be like, you should definitely have soda. Fuck them. Them being me. Being me still, though. Why do I do this? It's truly so childish. And I hate that I like have the same attitude problem regarding this as Luffy does. Because Luffy, sweetie, baby, You are a disaster. These episodes, I think, are the two most frustrating in terms of Luffy doing shit that he shouldn't, and that he should be well aware of what's actually going on. There have been like plenty of episodes where Luffy is not picking up on the sudden change of circumstance in a way that like is still annoying because he should get it, but there's also a part of you that's like, all right, well, he's also distracted and he also just like does whatever the fuck he wants because he can fight practically everybody. All right. But in this section, everything that goes down just didn't have to go that way. And I think that's what's so annoying is that like, if anybody had stopped having the little attitude problem and ego trip that they have, it could have mostly been avoided. It would have been okay, you know? And that's the part that I hate the most for them. They wind up with this like, I think it's 7 million berry fine eventually because it got doubled, and it only got doubled because they were like, we're not going to pay that. And you could have just asked what the conversion was before and it would have been less. It would have been more than they have, as it turns out. Yes. But at the time they're not aware of that. And I just, This is just me and the way that I function, though. I will always do the thing to make it easier on myself. And Luffy wants to do the thing based on how much he likes you personally. And he does not like this man that has come to tell him the way it's going to be. So he reacts the way he reacts. I really shouldn't be surprised. So they're talking about what could be going on with Nami. And Luffy is like, all right, we're going to go after her. And they go to their ship. And the father is like, hey, guy, you are definitely not going to be able to make it to her on that ship within any reasonable amount of time. The way to get there, like with speed, is by using our dial fueled technology, for lack of a better way to say it, dial powered, I guess. And they ask him, well, how long will it take? And he can't give them a straight answer. And then Luffy comes up with the idea of, oh, I've got this busted up jet ski on the boat that we found. Can you fix it? And the guy is like, I can actually. That's kind of my whole deal. So yeah, let's do that. And then you can go after her by yourself, even though Luffy is extremely bad at navigating these things. So I don't look forward to seeing that either. As that's happening, we cut to another portion of Sky Island. And it's really fun because essentially this looks like every other town that we have been in, except that there's like sort of swirls of architecture that are going into the air. I don't know what function they perform. It looks almost like they're supposed to be floating sidewalks and things, which would make sense. But the people are like kind of looking like they're city folks. They're dressed nicer than we've seen in other villages that they've stopped in. And they have wings, but their wings are pretty small. And I don't know if the wing size is indicative of anything here, but like their wings don't even go past the bottom of their shoulder blades, most of them. And these white berets are here doing this weird symbol. So the white berets have hammer pants that are blue covered in a cloud pattern and purple, like pale purple t-shirts. They have boots that come up to like their calves and white berets, as one would think. The captain has this like blue, I can't tell if it's just a cape or if it's a coat and he just doesn't have the sleeves on. I think it's that. And it's got this weird standing collar that looks like a fence because it's got big open gaps in it. Looks like maybe it's fabric on the outside, but it's held together with like tent poles on the inside. And their like saluting motion is to do like basically like the devil symbol, I think is what this is hang 10, right? Hang 10 is the pinky and the thumb, right? So if you do the pinky and the forefinger, that's supposed to be the devil. But they're putting their hand behind their head like the way that you give somebody bunny ears in a photo. And that's how they salute. And it's really giving some weird effects to see all of them doing this. This guy is telling everyone, you're warned to use extreme caution. I've received word that illegal entrants have infiltrated Skypiea through Angel Beach today. 7 suspects. And he says, you can help with our investigation by reporting all suspicious activity. Now, this news was also being shared by the weirdos on the island. And Nami overhears them talking about the 7 people who are from, the blue sea, and is like, oh my God, I'm pretty sure that's us. At this point, too, they're talking about the guy who just went off the cliff, and what they're it's weird. So it appeared as if he was talking to someone in the water. He was probably delusional. And he was most likely begging for his life. Why did Eneru take care of that guy himself? Isn't that why he sent us here in the first place? And one of them says, we probably ran out of time. And this is when the illegal entrance news gets brought up. And when the illegal entrant news gets brought up, this guy appears who has hair sticking up all over his head, kind of like a sea anemone or maybe a piece of coral. And his whole vibe, unclear. But Nami thinks back to the fact that this lady was basically like, yeah, I can let you in without you paying the entrance fee because it is not my job to police people, and realizes that's what's going on. That we got in here and it seemed like she just put up no fight, but actually it's because she was just going to leave us to whomever it is that is assigned to deal with this stuff. And then starts thinking about the guy who just got fucking zapped from on high, and is like, oh my God, did he get zapped because he was illegally here? Is that what is going to happen to us? So they start talking about how there's 7 people that they need to take care of, and it's not going to be a big deal. They're going to be able to take care of it really easily. In fact, it's going to be a shame because there's a weird number of them compared to the number of them, that they're going to have to share prey, which they just kind of think is a bummer. And they say all of that and fucking vanish. It's really quick, and they're suddenly gone. And Nami is like, okay, I am going to go and tell my friends that some shit is going down. On the island, Usopp and Chopper are making snowmen, but out of clouds. And can I just say how much I love Chopper's energy? Because I think of myself as somebody who's not that competitive. And I think that's because when I think about being competitive, I often think about things like sports, or I think about the kind of thing where people are comparing their jobs to somebody else's job, or their house to somebody else's house. That kind of competitive. And that has never really been something I worry about. People's houses, or obviously sports, I could give no fewer shits about. It's just never been a thing. But when it comes to creative stuff, which unfortunately it's very subjective, so it's not really a great thing to have this sort of feeling about, but I am really competitive about design things. When I was in school for visual arts, when I went to pastry and baking school and we had to decorate cakes, even shit like my fucking Animal Crossing island at this point in my old life, I am very, very competitive about wanting my shit to look better than anybody else's. And I mean, I'm like that with just like look at the room behind me. If you're here in the crowdcast, the organization of it all. I want things that I can like take a photo and be like, aren't you jealous about how dope this looks? Like, you know, and it's not because I want people to actually be jealous so much as I just want everyone to be like, wow, I want to take your idea kind of thing, you know? So Chopper looks over at this cloud statue because he's showing his off that's very, very simple that Usopp made, which is truly astonishing. And it's amazing too, because Usopp has a crown on and is like standing over a big treasure chest, and everybody is like simpering over him at how amazing he is, King Usopp. And it's really good. And Chopper is not, because Usopp says, mine is so much better than yours. I've done the best snow sculpture ever made. And I mean, he's a little bit of a dick about it. But Chopper is so generous-hearted that Chopper looks over and is like, oh my God, that's amazing. Which it is. Chopper, you are not wrong. But Chopper has no bitterness over the fact that Usopp was like, yeah, yours is trash. No offense, but offense. Chopper does not take that shit personally. Do you know how mad I'd be? Oh my God. I would never get over it. I would just never get over it. I would be so pissed. I'd be so pissed forever. I'm just such a baby about that shit. Ugh. Just truly, guys. Put that with the like perfectionism stuff and me wanting to like do the opposite of what I'm told. You've got a really messy personality over here, okay? I'm just saying. And I want to be like Chopper. I want to just be like, you did so great. Look at it. And I just don't have it in me to say. And like, if somebody genuinely did do great, I'm not going to say I won't tell them they did great, because I definitely will, but I will be so salty about it. And if they didn't do great, it's so hard for me to just be like, that looks good, even because I don't think it looks good and I don't like lying. So then I just don't say anything. But I want to be like Chopper. I want to be somebody who's just like supportive without any limits to it. There's no bars on it, you know? People who are like that, the world needs you. And we appreciate you. Just saying. So, Sanji comes over and he kicks the hell out of Usopp's amazing sculpture. And he also kicks Usopp, I should say. But he gave Sanji heart eyes, and he's staring. I think it's at Nico Robin in that, or it might have been Nami. But yeah, he is very pissy about it. And personally, Sanji, that shit was accurate AF. And if you don't like how it looks, maybe you should just kind of take a look at your entire life. So, just saying. And he says something about how I hope your cloud sculpting hand rots off. I love that so much. That's a particular kind of curse. Really hard. Very rude. So then we get, I think, my favorite entrance of a bad guy that we've ever gotten. And that is the White Berets army crawling across the beach. This is so fucking funny. This is so good. And they do it again when they leave, even though they've got him on a stretcher. Like, this is a really good joke, y'all. I loved this. And like the commentary that goes with it, they're crawling and everybody is like, what are they doing? Why? Usopp says, who knows? I mean, obviously they've got issues. And at one point, Zoro asks Chopper, who are these guys? And Chopper says, I don't know. Usopp says they've got issues. And Zoro just goes, huh. Like that's an answer? Oh my God. You guys, this really got to me. I don't know. I don't know why certain jokes will hit me so hard. And I think part of it is just like the white berets, it's obviously like a play on the green berets, but I don't know anything about the green berets really. You know, it's not like I have all kinds of context for a joke like this. You just don't need that much context for it to work. But I think it's just part of it being that it's so unexpected. Like, if you were going to ask me what the law enforcement body of Sky Island looks like, I think I would have pictured something that flies, probably, and that's like super majestic. I should mention too, like, as much as we see everybody has wings, nobody seems to fly that we've seen so far. It might not be that they fly, or they may just not do it often, or maybe they're like chickens and they just sort of flutter. But I would not have said, oh yeah, guys that are like the Green Berets for the governing body of Sky Island. And the fact that this was so funny sort of really like warmed me to their captain, even though he sucks, and made me sort of like him weirdly. Like, again, he blows. He's the worst. But also, it's really funny. So they all stand up. They do their fucking weird salute. And Luffy gets really mad because of the fact they are not speaking English initially. And this guy is like, oh, you're the Blue Sea dwellers that busted in illegally. Prepare to have the weight of heaven's judgment brought down upon you. And that is the end of that episode. So then we go to the next episode, which is titled Already Criminals. And guys, the titles of these episodes are like, I'm not supposed to look at them until after, right? And I am mostly doing that unless I accidentally, because they're like in the dubs, they're actually written under the episodes, like screenshot. But I have realized that part of what I enjoy so much about the titles, once I realize what they are, is they feel very like comic booky, which makes sense because they're from a manga. But that whole like lots of exclamation points and question marks, you know, is just sort of, it's got a real specific vibe to it. So they are told that if they just pay up right now, then we can forget this whole thing. If you just give us the fee that you already owe. And then when they argue about it, he doubles it. He says illegal entry is only an 11th degree crime. This is a running theme in this episode, is every crime they commit grows to a higher and higher degree progressively. So by the end of the episode, Luffy is a 2nd degree criminal because he like beats the shit out of this guy. Sanji says, how, like, what is it do we have to pay? If you had just started off with this, we wouldn't have argued with you. And he doesn't give them the conversion initially. 10 billion per person times 7 people makes your total 70 billion extols, cash only. And like I said, it could have ended there, but it doesn't. Nami, meanwhile, is heading back, and they are just sort of hoping that Nami's going to have the money because she's like so obsessed with money that she'll probably have a good savings stored up. We find out later it's not enough. They actually are pretty broke. And they all seem a little bit surprised by how broke they are. But yeah, the role that Usopp plays throughout this entire episode is getting everybody to shut the fuck up. Like, honestly, Usopp's entire thing is, can you stop talking? I had this. I had it. It was all arranged. Just fucking don't talk and it will be fine. Fuck. Shut up. And that's like him over and over and over and over and over again. And I really like felt for him because he is working so hard. And he is lying his ass off and coming up with very fucking reasonable scenarios and playing people against their expectation of this and that. And he's doing so well. He could be pulling it off if everybody would just get on board and pay attention. But this is the wrong crew to have if you want people who pay attention. They are not the ones. It's tragic, but there it is. So, he says, like, he has to, like, keep Luffy in line because Luffy keeps wanting to start trouble. He keeps wanting to go to this island that they're not allowed to go to and, like, starting to just talk about that in front of people. And he says our best bet is to wait here for Nami and try not to upset them. Nami's got to have a secret stash. And so we'll meet back here later. That's the plan. So Robin and Sanji go off to have a cup of tea. That seems okay. Zoro goes off to do God knows what. And later on we just see him taking a nap, which that's par for the course. And then it becomes clear that this dude from the White Berets is going to continue to be a problem. He is going to look for issues. So he spots the, like, waiver that's all busted up, and he starts to accuse Luffy of stealing it and then damaging property that isn't even his. The father is like, I did it. It wasn't him. It's mine. And this guy is like, well, that sounds suspicious to me. All of this is just this guy deciding to cause trouble because he doesn't have anything fucking better to do. We need to get this man an iPhone and some games so that he will be distracted by Candy Crush and stop looking around for trouble. And I love that we hear Luffy tell this guy, it's not stolen, want to fight about it? And as he says that, it's like the camera turns to Usopp and his ear moves. Like, he hears Luffy starting to cause trouble and he just screams, comes running down, grabs Luffy around the middle and around the mouth and drags him away. But it's not soon enough. That little want to fight about it is enough for this guy to be like, oh, okay, it's like that. And then it just starts him off getting into their faces over every little thing. They're fishing. Innocuous enough, one would think. Unfortunately, they get a bite. It's clearly very large. The fish that they pull out of the ocean is this enormous monster. It's humongous. It's just, and it's so ugly. It's like this olive green with like purple fins, and it's got an open mouth of like 1,000 sharp teeth, and it's heading straight for, what is her name? Konas? It looks like it's going to eat her. And Zoro leaps into action to protect her and bashes it on the head, and it lands on the beach, and it looks like it's dead. And of course, here comes White Beret guy going, that is an endangered fish and it's illegal to catch it. And they just try and like, well, it's not even actually dead. It's fine. We'll just throw it back into the water. Luffy can't help himself. He runs forward and just starts to gnaw on this poor fish's like whisker while it's still alive. Have some fucking dignity, Luffy. I don't know why I'm even saying have some dignity, Luffy. When has he ever had dignity? That's never even been like a flicker of his personality. It's not a shadow. I don't know what I'm even thinking. But truly, chewing on this like still alive giant fish, it's just rude. And so, of course, that we've got White Beret guy going like eating this fish is like a 5th degree crime or whatever the fact. And Zoro's like, I have been putting up with your bullshit all day. If you don't cut it out, I'll... And he reaches for a sword. And at this point, McKinley is his name. He says, "This is getting ridiculous. Your behavior is obviously an attempt at extortion. Congratulations, 7th degree crime." I don't really understand this, because extortion is when you are like putting somebody in an impossible position to get money out of them. I don't understand what they're doing, how that can be extortion. And I know that part of the thing is that he's making up shit, or at least like enforcing laws that's not enforced. That's not a thing that like anybody actually cares about. But like in all of these cases, as much as the things are not what they look like, the way that he frames the crime that's allegedly been committed does still make sense. And in this, I didn't really understand if it's like supposed to be, you're drawing this out so that I'll lower the fine, which isn't extortion either. Like, I don't really know. It doesn't matter that much, but I just had a moment of being like, wait, am I misunderstanding like what's going on? So yeah, he meant if you don't cut it out, we'll have a good laugh. It's kind of like his catchphrase. And Chopper, it's not fair. He's trying to get us in trouble on purpose. And Usopp goes over to him and says, "You're going to like make it worse. Why are you doing this?" And Chopper says the only way to not get in trouble is to do nothing. And that Usopp is like, "Oh, that's it." So they all lay down so that they can just flat out nap. They will just nap and not do anything. Therefore, they will not break another rule. It's honestly not a terrible plan. This is probably the most solid plan out of all the ones that they have come up with so far. This motherfucker is watching them just lay there sleeping. How dare they make such a racket on Angel Beach? Listen up. You're all in violation of Skypia's noise pollution statutes, which are 6th degree crimes. All right, guy. Look. I was willing to go with most of your garbage because I am a slave to authority. Even though I don't want to be, and I recognize how inherently fucked up that is, I am still, and I can't help it. They talked louder than they snored. Come on. You know this. I know this. Knock it off. Stop it. And this is when Luffy really like loses his shit and stands up and is like, all right, that's it. We are going to beat the shit out of this guy. And as he says this, Nami crests the horizon and says, I hope Luffy's not pulling any of his usual stunts. Ooh, sorry about that, Nami. So she hears from the beach. She says, promise you won't start any trouble. And Usopp says, we need you to fork up 7 million berries from your stash to pay for our fines. And she says, oh, good, we need to pay for our fines and then we're clear. And then all of a sudden she says, did he say 7 million? And she hits the gas way too hard on the waiver and screams, you're ripping us off, and crashes into the white beret. Really crashes, guys. It is a moment. And she says, I was so worked up, I forgot to hit the brakes. Yeah, all right. She tries to frame this as an accident a little bit later, but it very much seems like, you yelled, you're ripping us off as you crashed into him. Saying it's an accident, that doesn't feel quite genuine. So this is when she tells them about Aneru and that she has seen some shit, that they don't want to be messing with that person. And Konus says, once you're found guilty of committing a 5th-degree crime, Eneru will banish you to the land of the drifting clouds. Which, of course, Luffy is like, that sounds dope. What do you mean? What's the problem? It's a death sentence. You float around, basically, and starve to death. There is nothing out there. And they start to realize that probably that ship that fell from the sky at the beginning of this arc was somebody who had been exiled. And that ship was 200 years old, just floating around out there until it finally like fell down. They'll put you and your ship on a small cloud and set you adrift on the sea with no chance of rescue or escape. You'll eventually die a slow and painful death. So that does suck. I won't lie. But what if you just jumped over the side? Genuine question. Because the clouds in this world work so differently depending on what cloud it is. And I just really want to know, if you jumped over, would you just land on another cloud and like get stuck on that? You know what I mean? Like, is it like a series of like weird little like floating small islands? Or would you fall through them and then just like hit the blue sea and die when you hit the blue sea? Or, you know, I like to know the mechanics of things. That's all I'm saying. I want to understand. So I made a little mistake while I was turning. I'll admit that makes me clumsy, but can you blame a beginner for messing up? That's weird. Seemed like you had a pretty good handle on it to me, Luffy chimes in. And Usopp is just like, at this point, really ready to crack. He is fucking losing it. So at this point, Dad steps in. Maybe it would be best to get the captain to a doctor first. Just a thought. And all of his men are like, oh shit, you're right. He's just laying there. Like, let's go do that. He says, get him to my house. Bring him over there. And this dude is in bad shape. They're under preliminary arrest because of this attack, alleged. And they carry him away crawling. You guys, that is such a good joke. I am never going to get over that. And I just have to say, Konus' dad, what is his name? Is so sweet and adorable. I don't know what this voice actor's deal is, if he's like voiced any of the other characters on this show, because I know, we'll use the same voice actors over and over again and all kinds of stuff. Like, I think the guy with the long hair that was on the Upper Yard is the same guy who played, what's his name, Swan guy? What was he, Mr. 2? He wasn't Mr. 2. Was he Mr. 2? But the voice actor for her dad, his name is Papaya? Like Papa? Come on. All right, fine, sure, go ahead. Every time that he chimes in, he is just so, like, soft-spoken and gentle and calming. And I just really like him. I don't know, I just like this guy. I think just seems sweet, just saying. Pagaya, who's a typo. Pagaya, okay. I kind of liked the papaya thing, but okay, fair. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I have grown to really like him. And at this point, Konus is like, look, I know that you guys aren't bad guys. And I totally, want to give you this opportunity to get the fuck out of here. Turn around and leave. And Luffy, of course, does not want to go. And Nami is like, if we don't go, those two who haven't done anything could get arrested because they're tied up with us. And of course, Luffy's whole thing is, if anybody arrests them, they're an idiot. And Nami's like, yeah, I know that. That's not the point. The point is that he can. And sure enough, we see McKinley crawl across the floor and grab her by the arm in this fucking grudge moment that I truly hated. Staying here equals more trouble for everybody. And Luffy says we're in trouble no matter what. I mean, I guess. It just didn't have to be like this. So McKinley says, because they all show up on the beach, if you say anything to defend these people, I'll punish you both to the full extent of the law. For all the abusive behavior and deplorable violence. I find them guilty of 5th-degree crimes. You are banished to drift in the clouds for eternity. And Nami is just like, fuck it. And she grabs Luffy's arm and they start to turn away towards the ship. And then they pull, all of these white berets pull bows out and fire what he calls milky arrows. Luffy dodges them, and they're weird, like, sort of missiles that leave behind a cloud that's thick enough to, like, rest your body on. And these dudes jump forward and sort of ski down these, like, strands with the same sort of shoes on that our homeboy with the fucking bazooka was using. And Luffy, of course, is just like, what? This is dope as fuck. Are you serious? Can I do this? Do you guys have an extra pair of those shoes? Like, and then they start to just chase him, and he's bouncing all over the place, trying to get away, and they're starting to overtake him. And of course, then we get some of his stretchy abilities coming into play. And this is going to be a very interesting fight. I mean, this cloud place, it's just so fun. How can you be upset about anything? Look at all this cool shit that he just wraps his arm around a palm tree and wings his way out of there. But if he comes back, he could just probably wrap his arm around some of these like strands from the like milk arrows. I don't even know. He starts to spin in midair, and this dude McKinley is like devil fruit, and Luffy says fireworks, and then he just punches every single one of these guys at the same time. It's really quite a bloodbath, actually. And McKinley, off to the side, is just watching it all. And they think that they've taken them all out, but McKinley is watching from in the woods, and it seems like they are unaware that he is standing there for a second. And then I thought what he was going to do was sort of sneak up, but no, he just yells at them, "You should have listened and done what I told you." We are the most lenient of everybody who handles the law in Skypiea. And now it's going above me. Now, because you are 2nd-degree criminals, you are going to be dealt with by the priests, or the priest, I think, priests of the upper yard, which I'm assuming is all the dudes that Nami saw earlier. Bad luck, friends. That'll be very fun to watch, though. I'm excited about it. So yeah, these were really fun episodes. I like them a lot, and I am really digging Skypiea a lot. So, I can't wait to see what happens. These weirdos. There's so much weird shit. It's the best. All right, guys. I love you all so much. Thank you again to Gabriela for commissioning this episode. And thank you to you all for coming into the chat and hanging out with me. Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.